Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about organic growth. Now, before anybody gets alarmed, no, I have not opted to pivot my content and career choice and go into the field of microbiology because I really dig talking about spores and fungi and crap. No, when I'm talking about organic growth, what I'm talking about is the burgeoning labor movement here in the United States of America that began sometime last summer with a line of consecutive strikes with high-profile companies involved, such as Nabisco, Kellogg's, and John Deere. And through that, there were a bunch of smaller strikes and threats to strike by different groups of people in different industries as well. Miners in West Virginia, healthcare workers in Buffalo. Last year was a little rocky for, the people who signed the paychecks. And amongst all of those large stories and those big checks that had to be written out, there was one story of a small handful of people in Buffalo, New York, who work for Starbucks, who decided they were going to hold a vote to unionize. And at the time, I explained to you that this is how labor movements grow. One store at a time, one workplace at a time. So now that it's been a few months, I thought maybe we could take a look back and I could show you just how much organic growth has taken place since then. All right, everybody, this one's got some good and some bad, but I still strongly suggest that you buckle up. Here we go! Starbucks union organizing reaches 60 stores in 19 states. Wow, that escalated quickly. Wow, turns out organic growth happens even faster than I led you to believe. Bravo, organic growth. Workers at Starbucks stores in New York, Arizona, Massachusetts, Washington, Colorado, Tennessee, Illinois, Oregon, Ohio, Florida, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, California, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Kansas, and Missouri have announced public union drives according to the NLRB and union statements. I literally ran out of wind like halfway through that list. It's kind of impressive. Starbucks still opposes the union, according to a Starbucks spokesperson. The chain is slowing the voting process by requesting regional NLRB offices to refuse elections on a store-by-store basis. Ian Hayes, a lawyer representing Workers United in Buffalo, New York, said, Starbucks has argued the appropriate electoral unit is the regional market rather than a single store. Now, this is a tactic we saw Starbucks break out in Buffalo last year during the initial store's union drive. Essentially, they had 3 stores in the Buffalo area that all individually filed for a union vote. Starbucks then goes to the NLRB and says, well, hey, we think the entire Buffalo region of stores should all be allowed to vote for the union in one gigantic union vote. Now, of course, they didn't do this because they're pro-union, because again, you can read the statement right there where Starbucks literally says the part out loud about how they oppose stores unionizing. So essentially, they do this so that they could water down the vote, because maybe those 3 stores had enough people in each individual store working there who they knew would vote pro-union. But meanwhile, there could be baristas in a store 10 miles away on the other side of Buffalo that have no idea that this conversation is going on. So, by calling for an overall area vote, they look to dilute it, then the results come out on the low end, and it squashes the union drive, and they don't have to expend any further effort. Sadly, this did not happen for them, and 2 of the 3 stores in Buffalo actually did end up unionizing. Quote, their strategy was really to create a bargaining unit that would make it as difficult as possible for the unions to win. The combination of Starbucks' educated and often progressive workforce spread across a multitude of small units and fairly loose managerial supervision has widened the opportunity for Workers United. In a way, it's almost perfect for the union. You do want a lot of campaigns going on at once because that makes it far more difficult for Starbucks to fight them. Now it's at this point of the story that I remind you all, again, this is the last thing that Starbucks wanted to deal with. They had a couple of stores in one very small market that doesn't have a shit ton of national media output, and they figured if they could squash that one union vote, similar to what Amazon did down in Bessemer, Alabama, well then, they could get rid of the larger push, just sort of squash it into the dirt and, show the rest of the potential radicals what's going to happen to them if they try to organize and unionize and demand better. And unfortunately for Starbucks, which I couldn't fucking care less about them, it didn't turn out that way. And now it would appear that workers all over the country organically, after following the story of the first union votes in Buffalo, turned around and said, hey, wow, maybe we can do that. Joseph Thompson, a shift supervisor at a Santa Cruz, California Starbucks that filed for an election on January 21st, said their store has been plagued with safety issues and high turnover, and that Starbucks has left workers in Santa Cruz feeling unsupported. Quote, upper management doesn't care about us at all. We're just a number, Thompson said. We have a turnover rate of 140%. Thompson said Santa Cruz Starbucks workers are forming a union because they care about their jobs, their store, and their co-workers. Quote, there's been so many different issues at the store, but partners are dedicated to making sure it can continue in a great manner. And the only way we can see that happening is through a union. Also, if that confused you down there in that last sentence where he's talking about partners, they're not talking about the corporate partners. You see, at Starbucks, they don't call their employees, they call them partners, because they're all partners together in the process of taking care of the customers, keeping the store clean, driving sales. But however, the partners cease being partners when it comes to divvy up the loot at the end of the day, and this is why Starbucks is a multi-billion-dollar national corporation, and small handfuls of their workers are forced to gather together, unionize, and threaten to strike just so that the multi-billion-dollar corporation will actually make the stores and working within them not suck. Now, as a quick secondary piece of information, I want to show you this article, which came out just 5 days after the one I just finished reading you. Yeah, in this one, they now say it's 64 stores and not 60. It's more of that organic growth I was telling you all about. The pandemic has changed the way society thinks about which jobs are essential and shone a light on labor that was previously viewed as non-skilled. That, paired with rising costs of housing and income inequality, has energized workers, including Starbucks baristas, to seek union representation. Quote, you are seeing a counter movement. What's happening now is a recognition that the static dollars of workers aren't good enough if you can't pay for your rent or put good food on your table or be able to afford childcare. And this has been the crux of everything I have been talking about in relation to labor for the better part of the last year. It doesn't matter what kind of corporate messaging you have out there and how many press releases you put out stating that X number of employees will be making X number of dollars an hour by XX date. That doesn't fucking matter, because that does nothing to change the material conditions of the working class today. And people are sick of waiting for tomorrow. And so it would seem that Starbucks, having two different options, either listen to your employees, partners, or tell them to go pound salt and make life more difficult for them, they chose option B. Look, employees fired at Memphis Starbucks in the midst of unionization efforts. I've been led to believe that's actually against U.S. labor laws, but hey, let's find out. 7 Starbucks workers were fired as of 1:30 p.m. Tuesday, including nearly the entire union organizing committee, according to a news release from Starbucks Workers United. A Starbucks spokesperson confirmed a number of employees were fired following investigation into, quote, several safety and security violations. Starbucks employees at the location say they were not aware of what these potential violations were until their unionization efforts began last month. Quote, our investigation revealed that partners violated numerous policies, including maintaining a secure work environment and safe security standards. Oh, wow, look, they're partners again now that they're getting fired. Really weird. I didn't know partners could fire partners. I guess maybe they aren't actually partners and it's just another one of those fun marketing ploys. And here is a list of all the terminable offenses that were committed by these employees. Several partners, employees, remained in the store and opened a locked door after the close of business without permission or authority. Non-partners and those who are not on shift or otherwise not actively closing the store are not allowed to access the store when it's closed for business. Despite this, partners, they're partners again, allowed unauthorized individuals into the closed store. Partners also let these unauthorized individuals behind the line and in the back of the house while leaving the unlocked door unattended. One partner also opened the store safe when the partner was not the designated cash controller, and another allowed this violation to occur. Wow, that's a whole lot of stuff they did. I wonder how Starbucks came to know about all this, because it sounds like there weren't any actual corporate Starbucks managers around when this happened. I wonder why there would be no Starbucks managers around, but yet there would be a whole bunch of employees who were just allowed to run amok in the store after closing. I don't know, keep the doors unlocked, open the safe, have a party. I wonder what the hell was going on. Oh, wow, it turns out the firing stemmed from an incident last month in which the employees allowed members of the media into the store as part of the public launch of their unionization effort. What? So, to confirm, there were no corporate managers in the store. Employees finished working their shift, and then, while they were, quote, doing closing procedures, they let media into the building so that they could do sit-down one-on-one interviews with them for the 6 o'clock news. And this is how come Starbucks is firing them. Also, Starbucks didn't actually say if anything was missing, there was any vandalism, any of the money got stolen, things were out of place, the closing procedure didn't go normally. No. They just said they fired him for a whole bunch of offenses and then didn't explain that those offenses took place because the employees were talking to the media. So what does all this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, to start with, it means all this bullshit that Starbucks is pulling with the employees in Memphis and all the bullshit that they broke out in all the union drives in Buffalo last year. Yeah, I don't want people walking away from this thinking that this is some oddity or absurdity or some outlier. It's not. This same bullshit has been done by every boss, every corporation for the last 40 years, in which anybody has tried to unionize, come together, and demand better in the form of a shiny new union. Why? Because they would much rather spend $1 million in one day, today, just to squash all that fucking union talk rather than have to pay a handful of people a handful of dollars more every day to labor and provide them with profits. Because if profits are good, more profits are better. And at the end of the day, these are corporations, and their sole responsibility is a fiduciary one to maximize profitability at all legal costs. Also, fun side note, all these corporations are the ones who have enough money to lobby to get all the national labor laws changed into such a way that it benefits them and screws over workers. But I digress. The larger issue that I want to bring up here is that all of this is happening organically. It happens because one person in one location sees a video about a bunch of people in another store thousands of miles away who are fighting for better, and they go, wow, I wonder if I could do that. And then they go into work the next day, and they do the hardest thing possible. They turn around, they look at another person, a fellow coworker, maybe somebody who isn't of the same race, religion, gender, sexuality, ideology, doesn't matter. They look over at that person and they go, hey, last night I was thinking about this. I think we're getting screwed. What do you think? That's the first step. That's the most important part. And that is how labor movements are built. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.